to what's going on to even know that this is happening. But I wanted to give you guys this story. Now, Stacy McKinley, great friend of the channel, great trainer. Has been, he's trained many fighters like Ricardo Mayorga, Michael Nunn, Tony Tucker, Alexander Povetkin, Amir Young Master Imam. Just been a part of a lot of great fighters' careers. I've interviewed him a lot over the years. I know I've learned a lot about boxing and life from Stacy, so I know how great of a trainer he is. Teofimo Lopez and Stacy have had a relationship for a long time. Just so you guys know, before I play a clip for you guys, it was reported today that Stacy McKinley himself on his own Facebook page, and I'll show you guys right here. He announced that he will be part of the team helping to train Teofimo Lopez alongside Teofimo Sr. for the Shakur Stevenson fight. Now, this is very intriguing because, like I said, Stacey McKinley's been around big fights. Obviously he trained Mike Tyson towards the end of his career. This was the announcement earlier today. Stacey McKinley said right here, as you guys can see, and I quote, "The universe has spoken. The Lopez family welcomes Hall of Fame trainer Stacey McKinley to serve as part of the TakeOver Boxing on January 31st. Oh my God, only in America," right? Now, like I said, Stacey McKinley, amazing trainer, great boxing mind, knows how to beat a style like Shakur Stevenson because he's done it before. Like he was in the corner many years ago when Ricardo Mayorga beat up on Vernon Forrest, right? He was part of that camp, and he's been around a lot of big fights. Not just I can go on about Stacy, right? That being said, the other day, like about a week ago, I had posted something on Facebook, and Stacey McKinley told me to call him, right? Because he said he had a story for me. So I called him, and he said, "Brendan, what do you think about Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson? What do you think about that fight?" And I told Stacey, I said, "Hey, I like Teofimo. I would like to see him win because he is a South Florida guy, even though he don't really claim South Florida like he should, but he still did grow up with Davey Powell. He did grow up training with Stacey McKinley here and there. Stacey ain't lived nowhere else but South Florida for the last 20, 30 years. So, he is a product of the South Florida fight game, right? I want to see him win. I want to see him do well. Always root for him. But I don't think he's going to beat Shakur." I told him that. He said, "Why do you think that beats you?" And I was like, "Look, I just think that Teofimo Lopez struggles with southpaws. And when you watch that Senator Martin fight, there's some things that Senator Martin does that Shakur Stevenson can also do at a higher level. And I just think that, Shakur's going to outpoint him. But I do think the athleticism of Teo will give him trouble in some spots. And yeah, he sounded kind of offended when I told him that. And then I asked him, I said, "Stacy, are you training Teo?" Because he had made another Facebook post where they were pictured together. So I kind of already suspected that they were training together. And he was like, "We'll talk after the fight." So I'm hoping to get it. I'm hoping to get him on the channel before the fight. But I think this is a great move from Teofimo Lopez. And for me personally, I'm bumping his chances up about 10% having Stacy in his corner. They have a lot of familiarity. Stacy's seen a lot of styles throughout the years. And I think it's a great move. And look, just so you guys know, just to paint the picture for you guys, look, I'm gonna play you guys a video. This is Teofimo Lopez and Stacey McKinley training with each other before Teofimo Lopez was a pro. When Teofimo Lopez was a teenager. Watch this right here. Watch this.
Come on, bro. Hey, bro. Hands up.
So there you go. So he's working with Stacey McKinley for this fight, and I'm really intrigued to see how it goes. Everyone knows Teofimo Lopez as like he came up with Top Rank early in his career. Everyone remembers the Diego Magdaleno knockout. Everyone remembers how he knocked out Richard Coleman with the right hand to win the world title, to win his first world title. So, there was this perception that he's a knockout puncher. And at 135, Teofimo Lopez had great punching power, but he's not a knockout puncher. If you go back to his amateur days, from those days from when that clip was shot with Stacey McKinley, down in South Florida, we call him Gordo, right? And he was a slick boxer. That was his style, right? And I think for this style of Shakur Stevenson, he's going to bring that style back, and he's going to mix it a little bit with some of the things that Stacey McKinley brings to the table from a power punching standpoint. And I think he's going to be really, really good at come fight night. And I'm excited to see how they game plan to beat. Probably, I would say, yeah. I'm very intrigued to see how, Teofimo Lopez, Teofimo Sr., and Stacy McKinley game plan to beat boxing's most efficient fighter. Because I don't care if you love Shakur Stevenson. I don't care if you hate Shakur Stevenson. There's no doubt about it. He is the most efficient fighter in boxing. He's the hardest guy to hit. You don't throw a whole lot of punches to beat you. Like he's efficient. And to quote Paulie Malignaggi made a reference that I'm very familiar with because he said, boxing is the only sport where you can win and get criticized for it. And then he made a hockey analogy. He said, the New Jersey Devils back in the early 2000s, they used to win tons of Stanley Cups with the neutral zone trap, and it produced some of the boringest fucking hockey I've ever seen in my life. They had a great goalie. They had Martin Brodeur. They had a couple of defensemen like Scott Stevens and them. They had a couple decent forwards that could put the puck in the net, but it was boring hockey. But people recognized them for the greatness of their structured neutral zone trap. Shakur Stevenson is like the 2000s New Jersey Devils of boxing. He wins, don't look the most exciting, but he's efficient, much like the Devils were back in the early 2000s with that neutral zone trap. So to kind of piggyback off that super chat I got that I answered earlier, I want to go through Shakur Stevenson's resume because I want to show you guys what I'm talking about. And actually, no, not Stacey. Actually, yeah, I wanted to go through Shakur's resume because on paper it's an exceptional resume. He's 24-0. He's never lost. He's never come close to losing. Every fight has been by decision or stoppage, right? But if you look at the styles, I don't really care about the names. I don't really care about like their accomplishments. I don't give a fuck about none of that. I'm just saying, look at the styles. Look at like Joet Gonzalez. Look at Felix Carbajal. Look at Toka Khan, Clary. Look at Nakatilia, Valdez. Like the majority of the guys that Shakur Stevenson has fought are fighters that like to hold their feet, that aren't very athletic, that he can set the pace against, that he can be comfortable against. And against a guy like Teofimo Lopez, who I think Teofimo Lopez, when he's right, and you guys know this, we've been watching Teofimo Lopez for years now in the pros. When he's right, when he's truly dialed in and when he's right, there's very few, if any, as special in this fight game as Teofimo Lopez. He brings a unique blend of athleticism and creativity to the table. And I think those things, if harnessed properly, can give Shakur Stevenson a lot of problems. But I am picking Shakur Stevenson to win by decision because it's just hard to pick against a guy who's so damn efficient. It's not exciting, but at the most exciting at times, but he's so damn efficient. But if there was a guy that I think could beat Shakur Stevenson, honestly, as I've now began to really start to think about this fight a lot more in the last couple weeks or so, I think it's Teo. I think Teo can do so. I think Teo has a great chance to beat Shakur, but I'm just not. I don't feel comfortable betting against someone who's that damn efficient in the boxing ring. But he just hasn't fought anybody as athletic as Teo, and I think that is going to give Teofimo Lopez some advantages in this fight, but he's going to need to do a little bit more than a lot more than just be athletic. Athleticism is only one advantage he has over Shakur Stevenson. He has to make sure he's defensively sound. He has to be patient. He has to get Shakur Stevenson to overcommit, which is very hard because Shakur Stevenson is so patient and so he doesn't care. Like he fights within himself. He's not going to do what Devin Haney did against Ryan Garcia. He's in a box within himself, and he's going to stick to the game plan. So I'm intrigued. Shout out to Stacy McKinley. I'm not gonna lie to you. It makes me want Teo to win that much more, just having Stacy in his corner. But I'm not betting against until someone actually beats him and shows me otherwise. I'm not gonna bet against the most efficient fighter in the whole sport of boxing. That's Shakur Stevenson. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. Bro, that Valdez fight was a true work of art. No, it wasn't. He stood in the pocket. I mean, he was pretty heavy that fight compared to Valdez, but he stood in the pocket. He did his thing. We'll see. I'm really intrigued to see. Okay, if Teofimo Lopez's athleticism does give Shakur Stevenson problems, and Shakur Stevenson can't set the pace, and maybe the slickness of Teofimo Lopez, if that gives Shakur Stevenson any sort of trouble, if Shakur has to actually box a bit different in this fight, Does he have as deep of a bag as people think? We shall see. Because I mean, to his credit, against Zepeda, he showed us. He showed that he can find the pocket. I already knew that, and anybody who was honest about Shakur already knew that. But he showed that he had that. But will Shakur Stevenson be the elite counterpuncher if he needs to? Can he put Teo on the back foot if he has to? You know, I'm intrigued to see these things because I think Teofimo Lopez is good enough to make Shakur have to dig into his bag a little bit. And if he does, and there's not as many tools in there as we think, then we're going to have something very interesting to speak about. My man Chris says, I follow some of Teo's family. As of recent, I'd say Teo's in a happy state of mind. His old coach Milton was posting traveling, so I knew Teo wasn't with him this camp. Yeah. And I'll tell you this. I've spoken to Stacy McKinley about Teofimo Lopez. There's old interviews on this channel of Stacey McKinley, who's going to be part of Teo's team, talking about Teo 5-6 years ago. I'm going to say it was like Teo's first 4 or 5 pro fights and towards the latter stages of his amateur career, because Teo, he trains down in South Florida. Stacey was working out of the heavyweight factory all those years ago. He used to come to the heavyweight factory, him and his dad, at night, and they used to go train and get working with Stacey. So they got a long history together. And I'm looking very forward to seeing what Stacey could help Teo bring to the table. So we shall see. All right.